Hi, I'm Mueller-Kaul. Today I want to talk about what a flat back really is, because whenever I take exercise classes, and it doesn't matter whether it's yoga or Pilates or the personal training classes I go to, you often hear the trainers talk about doing an exercise with a flat back and hinging from the hips. Now, what I see people in class doing is some variation of this. It's not a flat back. And in most cases, the trainers aren't even saying anything about it, usually because they've tried to correct people before, and a lot of people have such poor body awareness that it's pretty much impossible. So you can only do this really in a personal lesson with a private instructor. But for the sake of this video, what you can do is use a mirror and really pay attention to how your back is looking. Because if this is news to you, you're not going to feel it yourself. Your back might look like this, or your back might look like this, and you really don't know because you're unable to tell what exactly your spine is doing in these positions. So I want you to just start getting a feel for it by doing nothing but this hinge from the hips when you have a mirror on your side. So if I had a mirror here, I could look at myself and I could see this is actually a straight line. I might be overdoing it and overarching in the lumbars a little bit. So you can feel even with your hand whether you put an arch in here, and then you can flatten it out just by pulling the belly button in a little bit and see that this becomes a straight line. Then we have a truly flat back. Now, what you often see, this kind of thing, happens when people in this forward fold position are too short in the hamstrings. So pay a lot of attention to what happens when you go forward with a flat back. And what I'm showing you right now is really a good trick if you don't have a mirror. Just put your hands into your back and feel whether you start rounding or whether you start overarching. And try to stay right in the middle so you make a straight line with your spine. And you go down as far as you can, and you're going to start feeling a stretch in the hamstrings. Now, you might be here. My hamstrings are pretty flexible these days. So just go as far as you can without starting to round your back. And then you can really get into this forward folded position without rounding your back. Then you can get a sense of what a truly flat back means. Now you can apply this in all kinds of exercises when they're talking about a flat back. I find that extremely useful in stretches. Now, when you're doing these typical hamstring stretches, what you usually see is that everybody grabs for their shins or their feet and they're pulling themselves forward. That's really not good for the back, especially if you have problems with your back. So try this out also with a flat back. And if you have very tight hamstrings, well, you might have to sit here. And this might be all that you're doing, and you might really be getting a good stretch already. If you're not getting a lot, you can just grab underneath your knees. You can grab the hamstrings themselves. Push the chest forward like crazy. And then you pull yourself forward. Then you get this true stretch with a flat back. Doesn't matter if the knees are bent a little bit, you're still getting a good stretch. That is much better than grabbing forward and pulling, because then you're really just pulling on your spine. You're not getting the true stretch for the hamstrings that you want. So try these things out and really try to get the difference between rounding your back and overarching your back and find that flat back in the middle, because that's going to be important in a lot of yoga poses that we're going over. And whenever I say do this with a flat back, then you understand what exactly I mean. Thank you so much.